What's up, guys, and welcome to a day in the life of what Michael Thurston eats on a typical training day. Now, I feel like every single fitness YouTuber on the planet has done one of these videos, or at least it seems that way. I don't think I have. Now that I look back at all the videos I've done, I don't think I've done one, or at least not as in-depth as this video. It is a little bit drawn out, but I do like to go into detail on certain topics and just my experience with eating certain foods and what works for me and what could potentially work for you. So try to keep it as entertaining as possible. Do watch it all if you can, and enjoy. First thing in the morning, I will almost always have eggs. I don't know why, I just like eggs. I will never get bored of them. They taste good, full of nutrition and healthy fats. So that is my go-to breakfast. Sometimes I will alternate it with other proteins and fats based breakfasts, but most of the time it will be the eggs. If I don't have the eggs, I'll most likely be fasting, and then I'll just consume meal one around lunchtime. So usually second meal of the day, or tends to be pre-workout meal because I like to train between 12, 3 o'clock. I'm gonna have some protein and carbs. Got some chicken in the fridge, so I'm gonna prepare the chicken. However, I'm feeling lazy today. I can't really be bothered to stand over a stove, so what I'm gonna do is just put it in the oven. So I would typically just get I've been saying typically a lot recently. Typically, I would put some tin foil. Actually, I'd get two bits of tin foil and put the breast of chicken in each. And it's funny, I do read some of these YouTube comments. People are like, "Oh, why don't you wash the chicken? Why don't you wash the meat?" I've never done that before. Yes, you could clean up the meat or whatever it is if you do wash it, but whenever you're cooking it under such extreme temperatures that if there is any bacteria on it, which there probably is, it's just going to get killed anyway. So, I'm going to start a discussion in the YouTube comments. I want to know if you wash your meat. Do you wash your meat or your fish? Yes or no? Might be a bit bland, but I'm going to be adding it to this stuff later on, so I'm going to wrap it up. And then I'll be putting it in the oven. There's a sweet spot. You keep it in there for just the right amount of time. Then you take them out and let them cool. It's still going to cook a little bit whilst it's cooling. And then it's like the optimal level of moisture, which is what you want really, because nobody likes a dry chicken. Yes, I've just changed my top because I'm going out. Whilst the chicken is cooking, I'm going to do this in the pan because I don't own a microwave, unfortunately. Times are tough right now. Sweet chili spelt. This is 500 calories. I just love this. It tastes good. It's more entertaining and interesting. Not entertaining, but it tastes nicer than the same old bland things over and over again. So I'm going to put that on the pan. 5 minutes, however long it takes to make. So I've chopped up the chicken, which was in the oven, and then I've just added it to the mix. And yeah, I'm going to eat out of the pan because that's just how I roll. Less washing, isn't it? This actually, it seems like quite a bit of food. And if I was having this in the evening, that would usually be alright. But one thing I've noticed recently, particularly in the daytime, if I have like a big meal in the middle of the day with quite a bit of carbs, because this is 500 calories worth of carbs, it can sometimes make me feel a bit sleepy, which, it's alright if I'm not doing anything, but I've got quite a lot to do this afternoon. I don't need anything which is going to make me feel drowsy, especially if I'm going to be training in an hour. If I have all of this, it might be a little bit too much food for me, so what I'll probably do is, I'm probably going to eat 2/3 of this and just save the rest for later. In terms of training and nutrition, this really depends on the individual and what time they work out, because ultimately you want to be consuming something which is going to allow you to perform at your very best. That's for the majority of the people who are watching this. I'm assuming people who want to build muscle, so you want to be able to eat something which is going to allow you to lift as heavy weight as possible. Okay, so you'll notice if you try and train fasted first thing in the morning or train fasted later on in the day, you will notice you won't be as strong if you were to compare that to training later on in the day in a fed state. But obviously not everyone can train whenever they want. Sometimes they have to train first thing in the morning, so something which you need to bear in mind. But most of the time, as long as you eat a decent sized meal the night before your workout and you train first thing in the morning, you should be okay. Intra-workout supplementation, I would probably recommend for those people who are in a calorie deficit and need a little bit of a boost during the workout, or, as I said earlier, for those people who are fasting. because I've trained fasted before. I have nothing against it, but I do notice that 20-30 minutes into my session, I will start to struggle. So I need something which is just going to help me power through the remainder of the workout. When it comes to nutrition surrounding any cardio activity I'll do, I will often do the cardio either fasted if I'm doing it in the morning, not because it's superior for fat burning, just because I like doing it on an empty stomach, it just feels good. Or I will do any cardio usually 3 to 4 hours after consuming any food prior to the activity. So I'm in a post-absorptive state. So after my session, I don't normally eat straight away because if you trained hard enough, you're generally not that hungry. Well, that's the case for me anyway. So I will eat when the hunger comes back, which is usually maybe half an hour or an hour. I'm not having any protein shakes at the moment because don't know, with protein shakes, I'll have them if I'm short on protein. Put it that way. I get the majority of my protein from real food. I just feel better that way. Okay, if I do have protein, I really avoid whey, but I'll talk about the supplements later on. So, boiled the rice. Now, I don't necessarily wash my rice before I cook it because, again, it's being boiled at extreme temperatures. However, I do find that sometimes there's quite a lot of gunk or starchy residue which does form once you have boiled the rice. So if you want to get rid of that, I just boil a kettle and run the boiling water through the rice on a sieve, and that tends to get rid of most of the unwanted residue. This one's a bit of a blander meal, I'm not going to lie. So maybe spice it up with a little bit of teriyaki sauce, or there's some other sauces which I do dabble with from time to time, but I've run out. Bad times. So that's that. Mix it up just a little bit, and then I've got my vegetables, I steam them. It's quite a lot of veg actually, but I'm going to Barcelona tomorrow, so I needed to eat all my vegetables. Can't be wasting food now, can we? These beetroot, sweet chili cocktail beetroot. Oh my god, these are really good. Beetroot is really good for you as well. So 200 grams of this. I usually have about 100 grams a day. That's delightful. These as well, I discovered these recently. I don't know how I discovered them, but I just wanted some things to snack on to add a bit of variety. So we've got mixed sweet baby peppers. So on to the next meal, which I'm going to be preparing is bada bing, bada boom, fresh salmon. If there's one food which I could have every day and I would never get bored of it, it's fresh salmon. Something about salmon which just tastes so good. When I went shopping, I actually managed to find this on a discount. God damn, it's like half the price. I mean, obviously, the problem is if you're shopping on a budget, salmon, fresh salmon anyways, it's a little bit pricey. But if you can afford it, go for it, because it's good for you. Healthy fats. Tastes unreal. Didn't like it when I had to buy it frozen back in the day when things weren't so great. Times were tough. Had to get frozen packets of salmon from Lidl or Aldi. And when you prepare that, it's just like eating. Can't even think of a good comparison, but it's not good. So Mike, tell us, are you going to wash your salmon before you cook it? No, I'm not. Other things which I'll consume throughout the day, which I'm trying to get into a habit of doing on a regular basis, is nuts. Now these are a mixed selection of organic nuts. Now I didn't always used to have nuts, mainly because they're so calorie dense. It's very easy to overconsume them, and they're not really that satisfying. Like, it doesn't really massively improve or help with your satiety feeling. That's your feeling of overall fullness, which is not ideal when you're dieting, put it that way. But I keep seeing more and more articles that keep cropping up talking about the benefits of consuming nuts. So I'm getting into the habit of having around 30-40 grams per day. If you're allergic to nuts, then oh well, you're going to die young and lonely. That's all I can say. No, I'm kidding. This is what I will almost always have on a day-to-day basis. So I'm not plugging this brand, they haven't paid me. I will just have any kind of green powder. So a green powder, this one's Vegalife Super Greens, your daily nutrient boost. If you look at the ingredients, there's just everything: spirulina powder, alfalfa powder, barley grass powder, wheatgrass, kale powder, spinach powder, broccoli, watercress, parsley, celery, carrot, ginger, beetroot, alfalfa, again, alfalfa sprouts, green tea, beta carotene. You know, it's all good. I mean, you're not going to argue with this in your body, are you? So I'll have a scoop of this every day. I'm going to be getting my vitamins and minerals micronutrients from a lot of the foods which I'm eating and the vegetables and so on. But this is like a backup. So, yeah, in a way, it's like a placebo effect where it makes me feel good when I've had it. But also, it's probably going to be doing some good as well. I will have the omega-3 fish oils, 90 gel caps. Oh, great. You put a label right on the important information so I can't read it to my viewers. You know when you get those... the labels when you peel them and they just don't peel. I love those labels. They're the best labels. Can we have more of those labels, please? Because I love peeling them and not being able to see what you've been covering. 10 calories a capsule, 1 gram of fat. EPA 300 milligrams, DHA 200 milligrams, and GLA 40 milligrams. They're pretty big though, so like, hopefully you don't gag. I also have from Thorn double strength zinc picolinate and magnesium citramate. I have these about 30 minutes before bed on the days which I train. One more, probably one of the most important ones, in my opinion. Vitamin D3. Now, these are super duper strong. These are 4,000 IU. Now, I'm not going to sit here and talk about all the benefits associated with each of those because we'll be here for another 15 minutes. So just Google it and you'll find why they're good for you. And let's just move on to other supplementary supplements. Like I said before, I don't really have protein shakes that much because I can hit my protein intake from the foods I eat. I am 96 kilos. I want to try and hit at least 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. So that will work out to about 210 grams. I like to have a little bit more just in case. So I aim for 220, 230 grams of protein per day. I would like to get all of that from real food if possible. Ultimately, I think it's all about finding a protein powder which your body can digest properly, right? If you have a dairy intolerance, it's probably best that you don't have the ones which are whey. All right. I mean, I can get away with quite a lot of whey products these days, but every now and then I'll have a protein shake which absolutely floors me. Like literally feel like I want to die. So now I'm a lot more cautious when it comes to choosing my protein powders. To be honest, you can't go wrong with a vegan blend. Vegan blends are very popular now, so it's plant-based protein. So find a protein powder which suits you best, but don't overdo it. Don't be having like 4 scoops a day because I did that when I was a kid and when I was growing up. I was like 4 scoops a day every day for like 3 years, and I wondered why my farts smelled like a raw sewage system. So since we're on the topic of flatulence, let's get a little bit personal now, shall we? If you find yourself farting on a regular basis, something in your digestive system is not right, right? My experience, and as far as I know, if you are farting excessively, it's down to 3 things, all right? 1, you're just eating too much food in one sitting. Number 2, you're not chewing your food properly. Number 3, probably the most common one, you're eating something which you are not digesting properly. You are inefficiently digesting it, right? And this is the case when people are intolerant to certain foods. They might eat something and then they just cannot stop farting, and that's because they've eaten something which their body generally isn't a fan of. And it happens to all of us, I think. Yes, it does. One thing which I've come to realise recently is sweet potatoes. When I have sweet potatoes, I can't stop farting. Like, I don't know why. Which is annoying because I love sweet potatoes. So I'm doing a bit of an experiment now where I've just cut them out to see if it has made any effect and whether it was the sweet potatoes which were causing it. And I think they were, So I will incorporate them back and see if it does set things off again. But I don't know if it was because I was having too much sweet potato in one sitting. Like sometimes I would just throw in like 300 grams of sweet potato and just eat it in one sitting, and then I'd be like literally levitating from the amount of gas which was coming out of me, it's never ideal. I mean, if you live by yourself and there's no one around, then at least you can let it out. But the worst thing is when you have to be somewhere or you're surrounded by loads of people and you have to hold it in. I mean, you should be holding it in. Jesus Christ, you should be holding it in. But yeah, if you constantly having to hold farts in, that can't be doing you any good. Like, where's it going? So yeah, that's something you guys need to consider. If there's anything which is causing you to bloat or fart, it's more than likely something you're eating which isn't agreeing with you, or you just need to maybe eat a little bit less and chew your food a bit more. So this is now the final meal of the day. We've got the lovely salmon with some vegetables. Shortly after this, I'm going to be having the oatmeal. When it comes to eating my last meal of the day, I do like to prolong it as late as possible, really, so that I'm not going to bed hungry. But at the same time, I don't want to be eating too close to bed, because this is a general observation which I've made over the years. If I eat too close when it comes to going to bed, I feel uncomfortable when I'm lying down. Might be a bit bloated, might be a bit gassy. Then I wake up the next day quite like bloated with puffy face, almost like I've got a food hangover. So I try to eat 2 hours before I'm going to be lying horizontal, maybe a little bit earlier than that. So 2 to 3 hours before I'm going to be lying horizontal, so that I've at least digested the majority of my food whilst I've been sitting upright. And once that's been done, when I'm lying down, all the hard work is done. I feel like the body can focus on doing everything it needs to do when you're sleeping. Last thing which I'm going to be consuming today is going to be the oatmeal. I wonder, should I wash my oatmeal before I cook it? With my oatmeal, I like to have the sweetened almond milk because it just makes them taste nicer. The plain almond milk really is quite plain. Again, I don't have normal milk because of my issues with dairy. It's not really an issue, it just is a massive issue. So when it comes to the end of the day, I basically just see what I have left to play with, because I don't plan exactly what I'm going to eat for the day ahead, because I can make all my meals at home. So I just go with the flow and eat what I would like to eat. So if it says I have 300 calories remaining or whatever it might be, then I'm like, hey, well, I'm going to make those 300 calories up from a bit of oatmeal, bit of almond milk, bit of frozen berries, and if I do have quite a lot to play with, then I might throw in a tablespoon of honey. But obviously I'm not going to be preparing it like I did in my last video. That would be absolutely disgusting. What a disgraceful thing to do. Who spits in their oatmeal? Who? Devastated. I've realised I don't have any frozen berries, so I'm probably going to spice this up with a tablespoonful of honey and a little bit of cinnamon, because that's all I have really. Now I'm sure a few people are going to ask me, oh, well, does it matter what order you eat the meals, or how you space the meals out throughout the day, the timing, or what if you have like carbs with fats and proteins, does that make a difference? To be honest, like I've said before in previous videos, most important thing is your overall calorie intake for the day. Second most important is your macronutrient split. And then after that, micronutrients, meal timing, frequency, and so on. So I think if you guys just want to look good, athletic, and you want to get yourself in shape, put on a bit of muscle, it doesn't really matter that much. I wouldn't stress out if you didn't eat your third meal of the day at precisely 2:30 in the afternoon. It's not going to make a big difference. And I've tried mixing my order around of like, oh, should I have proteins and fats, or proteins and carbs here, blah blah blah. And honestly, man, it doesn't make a huge amount of difference. Instead of worrying about the little things like that, you should probably worry about why you last set on bench press. You had the work ethic of a stone McDonald's employee. So yeah, those are the things you really need to worry about. Work your ass off in the gym, and then if maybe if you're competing or you're really trying to get your physique like to the extreme levels where you're trying to drop from like 8% body fat to 6%. Okay, meal timing, meal frequency, and your macro split and your split with each meal is probably going to have a little bit more of an impact of how your physique changes over time. But for most of you guys, don't worry about the little things. It's not worth stressing over. Ultimately, this is all really down to finding systems and foods which work best for you. There is no right way. It's really down to the individual, which I've said many times. So find out what foods you like to eat. Make sure that you're getting, a decent variety of the foods you're consuming. And as you can see today, I didn't have any steak or red meat. I do have red meat from time to time, but I vary it. I try and vary my protein sources as much as possible. I try and minimize the amount of overly processed, crappy foods which I consume. Yes, they taste good, but I notice they just make me feel like crap after I've eaten them, and it does affect my fitness and my training. If I have junk food, when I go and train, I'm just like proper gas, like I've been smoking cigarettes. So I try and avoid it. Yes, I'll be flexible at weekends and stuff, and treat myself every time I want to treat myself. But I feel good when I eat good. I'm sure most other people do as well. But that's it. I don't really know what more to add. Thoroughly interesting topic, just watching me talk about food and eat food. But hopefully you've picked up a few things that might help with your own nutrition regime. So thanks for watching, guys. See you guys soon.